You can visit decidim.barcelona. Decidim means we decide, we choose. And it's we understand it as a digital infrastructure for participatory democracy, and I will try to explain that soon. Decidim is part of a broader transformation plan. It's the Barcelona Digital City roadmap that includes a number of projects and dimensions of transformation, from the very institution to the market and the economy of the city that is in Barcelona particularly importantly digital, and also citizens, communities, the people in Barcelona. And basically there is a whole bunch of measures, plans and strategies to transform the city through the city council, including the open source transformation plan, creating new economy around the digital innovation, introducing new forms of public procurement, new interfaces between citizens, public institutions, and a set of codes of practice to transform and drive new forms of digital life in Barcelona, a digital life that has to be sovereign, meaning that the people own the means of digital production and digital mediation through the public sector or public commons partnerships, and also the data understood as an infrastructure that has to be public and not privately managed, and well, a source of money for foreign corporations, and a set of measures, as I mentioned, that are put in place in Barcelona City Council. But this is the context of the practical, more close, immediate political agenda in Barcelona, but there is obviously a wider context that's been set up already by previous speakers. I need some water, so if somebody could provide, because I'm getting drier and drier. Okay, this is good, but it's not very helpful, maybe. Okay, I apologize for that. We have suffered this all over the Spanish state and different regions, but it's almost universal now. The crisis of representative democracy and the limits of a political system that hasn't really changed in 200 years. We have witnessed changes all over the place on the way we dress, on the way we especially interact with each other through technologies, on the way we produce, and the way we communicate, relate, have sex, believe, learn, and we haven't seen any change in democracy for hundreds of years. Actually, and people didn't stop. In Spain, there was a big movement that you may remember, 15M, Indignados movement, taking the squares and reclaiming a different way of doing politics. But no political party really incorporated the demands of the people that were shouting, they don't represent us. And this was the trigger for a set of political changes that have, in our project, a digital dimension to it. Many of us were involved at the time on the digital infrastructure for this social movement that was claiming to change. Also because youth was really living a very precarious situation, and change had to happen. And the type of democracy we are advocating for is participatory democracy. Participation comes from Latin pars capere, which means to take or retake the part that belongs to you. And in a democracy, the part that belongs to us, the people, is the sovereignty. We are, in theory, legally the source of power and decision-making if we are to live in a democracy. But this power is every 4 years, at least in Spain, municipalities and the state, done to others, to representatives. So participatory democracy is one way in which we retake this power that belongs to us and we execute it either through direct democracy, like referendums, or by other means that are made possible through this platform or other ways of social interaction. We'll see. But in the wider context, we're witnessing the rise of cognitive capitalism, like a third way of capitalism, starting from the Industrial Revolution, coming next the financial revolution and crash, and finally, in the last years, the rise of cognitive capitalism, meaning basically a form of market that is based on intangible goods, on trademarks, on copyright, on data, on technology, etc. And we can see that the more time passes, the more centralized these technologies are in the hands of very few companies that control our identities. They also control the content and the market through it. They structure our social interactions, and they control data, and the analytic aspect of data through artificial intelligence becomes more and more a threat to democracy itself, because there are few companies can know, even before we have made a decision what we're going to vote, some companies are capable of anticipating what we're going to vote, right? So this is a situation that threatens democracy altogether, and lately we've seen how these platforms, like social networks, suffer different types of cyber war to control the people's minds, basically. We've seen interventions of different countries. That started all in Latin America. Now everybody is talking about maybe Donald Trump got dirty help from Russia, injecting ideas and things into social networks, particularly in Facebook, etc. But this practice been, I don't know, like very often in history, in Latin America has suffered new forms of war and control over population. And we have different friends in Mexico, for example, where it's a brutal cyber war on social networks. And we have learned a lot from the suffering of these colleagues. On the other hand, we have digital commons growing up very fastly. We know the intangible goods have special properties, right? They don't produce a scarcity because we can copy things, gigabytes, terabytes of information, almost as a zero marginal cost. And this allows an exponential growth of collaborative infrastructures and goods and services. There is the copyleft movement, but we have very nice examples like Wikipedia, Linux itself, Creative Commons, open educational resources, open science. There's a huge explosion of collaboration together with a huge expansion of technology capitalism. So they are here, the risks and the potentials of technology are fighting each other, and that comes particularly relevant when we talk about politics and democracy. I don't have time to explain the whole context, and it's not needed. You are very aware of the situation, and I'll start explaining what is the situation. But this is the context. We are aware of this context. This is our driving motivation is to try to maximize the potential of new technologies, of a copyleft movement, of the whole culture and political drive of sharing and collaborating into the arena of participatory democracy. So basically, the CDIM is a digital platform for participatory democracy. It's not a platform for digital democracy. Digital democracy, I'm sorry to say, doesn't exist. Neither does digital health. My health is biological. Maybe I use a digital tool to measure my blood pressure, whatever, but health is biological and democracy is political. If you take decisions, it's democracy. If you just play dropping ideas and getting really fancy online, clicking likes, etc., that's just, I don't know, call it entertainment or whatever, but that's not democracy. And the CDIM wants to be a digital platform for participatory democracy, and this is what we fight for. You can do many things in the platform, and Arnau will explain the functionalities of it. I'll try to focus on some of the principles behind it and the nature of the project. And I'll obviously provide some data and experiences from Barcelona. I work for Barcelona City Council at the Democratic Innovation Directorate. And the CDIM is actually the biggest free software project of Barcelona City Council. We started up with the first instance of GitHub, which is this kind of Wikipedia of code, where more than 20 million programmers collaborate daily on producing software. It's a big factory of collaborative software production. And we also a project of public commons partnership. We believe that the digital commons needs to have, and especially if the opportunity comes, as it happens in Barcelona, needs to have public investment. It is amazing how Wikipedia grew up without almost any funding from any public university or other public institutions. And right now, 20 years later, Nobody can deny the value of Wikipedia for teaching or learning at any scale. But there's something else. Decidim is also a community, an open and collaborative community that has its monthly meetings and research lab. And obviously, guess what? We use Decidim to decide on our community. And our community decides on the features and functionalities of the software. It's a way of making the software democratic, not only because it's open source, but also because decisions about the platform and the software are taken democratically. The values and principles behind it. The first is this one that I've been emphasizing so much, this open to collaboration. It's critical for this that we have licenses that make sure somehow take advantage of intellectual property laws to just produce the contrary effect of creating a common shareable space of digital or intangible or knowledge goods. This is, we use Affero GPL3 for the code, Creative Commons licenses for all the content of the platform, pictures, text, also fonts, whatever. And for the data that is produced by citizens, we use Open Access Database License. This makes Decidim auditable. You're a citizen, you're worried about how voting is counted, you're worried about where the data goes. You can read the code and point out to a problem and raise awareness about it, or you can fix it and we'll accept the pull request, which is the way in which in collaborative software production contributions are made. That's what makes the software democratic together with the community. There are 3 principles of all that all the content must take on it. The content has to be transparent, meaning accessible to anyone. It has to be traceable. This is something we've been thinking about a lot. I think Arnau came with the idea in the very early days, which means transparency over time. So what happened to a proposal? Was it accepted or rejected by the government? With which reason? With how many votes? Was it discussed in a public meeting? What happened with this discussion? Has this proposal been accepted? Therefore, is it being implemented? To which extent? All this is accountability that goes together with traceability and integrity. The content should not be manipulable. Governments sometimes don't like the ideas people have, but you have the right to have your content that you proposed integral and not manipulated. If changes are made, because sometimes they are grammatical mistakes, then you should have control version and therefore should be auditable that a small change was made, by whom, and with which purpose. And then there are some democratic quality guarantees that we call them. They are other items on the principles that we hold. No discrimination, should be equal opportunities for all the ideas, all the proposals, and all the users or citizens. It has to be inclusive, and that means multi-layer. Some people don't like or don't want to or cannot access digital means, or they don't have the capacity to do it. We connect always all the participatory processes, the digital and the offline, online connection is very important to us. We have meetings. Everything that is discussed on the platform should be discussed as well outside the platform in different means. And it's very important to train people as well. Very soon, I need some more water. Very soon, we are opening a training section of the platform, so people, it's not just training on it's not the user documentation. It's training to empower people on how to use digital means securely, meaning how to install Tor if you have to get to be sure that you are not being identified as such, how to keep track of your data, how to use free software, how to raise awareness about different modes of collaborating between citizens in order to create public policies. So it's a complex set of training material. And workshops we are soon opening. We did 4 pilot workshops and they worked really, really good. And soon we'll open mediation, so because some people may not have the time or the capacity to train themselves, but they always should have the possibility to go to a public library, for example, and get someone help them getting into the platform, this kind of digital mediation is also important. And finally, privacy and security is very important to us. We keep the minimal possible personal data, almost nothing, which has been hashed or encrypted. And personal data is never given or sold to third parties. Also, the users get control of the data and the number of notifications they want to receive, so we don't do like this aggressive marketing. And there are no third-party cookies on the platform. This is very important to us. So those are the principles, and this is the reality. Right now, these are the numbers from the platform, which are transparent. There are different instances of the Decidim being installed. The Decidim Barcelona is the oldest one and the biggest one with more users. Any city council that installs Decidim will have this transparent data available for citizens. There are 26,500 users on the platform. Also a few thousand associations. We have 11 participatory processes right now. Well, actually, there are 10 and a citizen initiative that I explain later. They've been done altogether 11,723 proposals, and there are 1,677 results. So what is our result? So a result could be a project that is going to be implemented and has a budget. A result could be an article of a law. We thought that it wasn't a good starting point to have very long proposals or very long text or strategic plannings, that everything had to be split up into readable content, maximum 1 page, longer than a tweet, but smaller than a book or a very boring law. And so these are like the building blocks, like the bricks that people move with votes, with comments, with different modes of interacting with proposals. And the city council picks them up or not, or sometimes it's compulsory that whatever people vote for is done. So there are different modalities of results, of proposals becoming results. Although the numbers look confusing at this point, because out of the 11,000 proposals, around 70% have been picked up by government and included on results. But what happens very often is there are many proposals that are very similar, and they are usually merged into the same result. So maybe somebody in a neighborhood wants to improve the bike line, and some other has a proposal for changing the route of the bike line, whatever, and all these come together into improving the bike line and includes the proposals as sub-items of the result that is, for example, a plan to change the routes in the city for bikes or improving them. So we started with PAM. PAM is the Plan d'Acció Municipal, is the Catalan name for the strategic plan of the city. This is something quite exceptional, I think, in the world. By law, this is a law mandated by Barcelona's chart. There's a special law that applies only to Barcelona, because it's a medieval city at the time, had a special regulation, and it still keeps these privileges of singularity, legally speaking. And it's compulsory that whenever a new government comes in, a participatory process has to be done to plan for the strategic planning of the full mandate. So this was the first need that the Decidim had to satisfy. We needed a digital platform to make visible all the proposals that different associations and people had to do to be incorporated and create a strategic planning of the city. It's a big document. It has 250 pages or so. It's the proper strategic planning for the city. So that's how the Decidim was born. Originally, we used the code of a different project in Spain. It's very interesting as well. It's called Consul. It's what Madrid uses as a platform. But we have since rewrote the whole code, and it's a totally different project right now. Stage 2, we made Decidim host multiple participatory processes. And we had to abstract it. So it wasn't only useful for strategic planning, but things like participatory budgeting, or different types of elections, or different types of regulation, designing regulations collaboratively. So we opened to new functionalities with that. And the third stage, which we are already having some pilots, is to open the platform not to serve city council, not to serve the municipality as an institution, but actually to serve the city. So that other organizations, there was a question before whether some of the software was used for organizations other than city councils, we are starting to deliver the CDM as a service to different city organizations that need a democratic platform to take decisions, whether it is a cooperatives or a neighborhood association or a sports association, whatever. We're hosting right now all these participatory processes. Participatory processes basically have stages and the different things that citizens can do in different stages. Maybe you are discussing what are the priorities and you have a survey. Maybe you are opening to proposals to solve a specific number of problems that have been identified in the diagnostic phase. Then maybe those get transformed into projects that have a budget on it and people vote for which projects need to be implemented. And then you have monitoring of the results of that voting. So, but every participatory process is different, and therefore we have inside the platform, in the admin panel, Arnau will explain a way to configure technicians, participatory technicians at City Council. They can configure every participatory process with different properties. So the first here is MetaDecidim, which is a participatory process to design the platform, as I mentioned before. It's over now. Now we change from being a participatory process becoming a community, and so we have our own decidim to make decisions and host all the participatory processes needed and organs and other features. We did 2 pilots on participatory budgeting. We made the strategic plan, the Plan de Actuación Municipal, and theaters are being redesigned, new regulations are being written with decidim, market in San Antonio is being redesigned as well, bus lanes are being reorganized through decidim, and a number of public policy making processes are open to citizens to contribute. And finally, there is a citizen initiative that is also using decidim. They want to change the zoo, and they have organized their own participatory process. So I'm going to skip some of these things because we still have things to say, and I want Arnau to explain how it works and the vision that he has helped develop as well. I think the most powerful case study of Decidim is this participatory strategy planning that I mentioned before. We had 39,000 participants. Some of them, about 40% of them, didn't participate only through the platform, but actually went to public meetings. There were more than 500 public meetings made, and all the minutes of these meetings you can see them online. You can navigate the city map and click on every single meeting that took place, what was the subject of the meeting, which proposals came out of the meeting, etc. There were 10,000 proposals were made. All together, they received 165,000 supports. There were 1,700 organizations, like associations of all kinds that got involved in the platform and outside the platform. And in general, there were 230,000 interactions of all kinds, comments, discussions, votes, sharing on social networks, interactions of all kinds. This is a data visualization. This is important for us. Open data is good, is important, is necessary, but come on, who can download a CVS file and charge it into a super fancy program like Gephi or some other and extract knowledge out of it? Only a few geeks can do that. And we want people to be in power. So whenever we open data in the platform, we try to open it with data visualization tools that are built into the platform so people can explore interactively. And this is one of these visualizations that I'm mentioning. So this is the origin of the proposals here and to which category of the final strategic plan of the city they went to. And out of 10,000 proposals made by citizens, about 72% were accepted into 1,400 actuations. That's the name in Spain, is what you are going to do as a government during the next 4 years. And there are more than 7,000 projects. So this is massive interaction and massive strategic planning. And so you can see here, the City Council was one of the users of the platform, and we introduced a lot of proposals. But public meetings were the biggest source of proposals. And they have a specific value because 40, 60, 20 people gathered with facilitators to create proposals to solve city problems, and those proposals were included in the platform and then open to discussion, voting, support, etc. Organizations were a very important source of proposals as well, and then just citizens, individual citizens from home. They had good ideas, and many of them went to different chapters of the strategic planning. So this is something very nice. This is the network diagram of all the interactions in the platform. Interactions, but not the votes. The votes are secret. So whenever somebody was proposing something, a proposal, you have a dot. And if some other user is making a comment on this proposal, maybe it's agreeing with it, maybe wants to improve it, maybe wants to discuss it, you draw a line. And out of this huge interaction map, that's the picture it comes out. So here in the center is Barcelona City Council, because as a single user, the City Council was the one that produced most proposals, but then you have a network of interactions all spread over it. And some of them don't give a shit about City Council, you know? They discussed something that they are particularly interested in, and they don't interact with City Council. And you can navigate this map and click on every dot, and you will see who this person was. You can link to the proposal and see what happened with it, whether it was accepted or not, and everything. This is another visualization of all the proposals and how they were finally categorized into the table of contents of this strategic plan. And you can navigate inside Decidim, and I won't get you bored. It's better you interact and enjoy it yourself. Oh, this is the map of all the public meetings that I mentioned before. More than 500 were made, and well, that's pretty much it. And now is our last time. Thank you very much, and I think you can get more knowledge and more details about how it really works.